Hello, everyone. I am the Sports Wiz 101, and today I'll be giving you my predictions for Week 1 of this NFL season. So I'll be predicting all these games that to take place here in Week 1. So let's get things started off here in the AFC. Is the Colts taking on the Texans. Indy has the new quarterback, Matt Ryan, and I think they should fairly easily dispatch the Houston Texans in this one. Next up, we got Steelers and Bengals. This will be the first real test for the Cincinnati offensive line, a new-look offensive line. They were far and away the biggest weakness of the Bengals last year. And so Cincinnati went out and revamped their O-line. And now they take on a defense that has been up near the lead, if not at the top of the lead, in sacks over the past few years. But nonetheless, I think Cincinnati will find ways to get their passing game going, and that will be just way too much for Pittsburgh to overcome. I'll take the Bengals. Ravens and Jets, this would qualify as my lock of the week. I'll take the Ravens in a game. Sure, it's in New York against the Jets, but it's a Jets team having to rely on their backup quarterback, that being Joe Flacco. I'd probably favor the Jets by double digits anyway, but I'd favor the Ravens by double digits anyway. But now with having to deal with Joe Flacco as the Jets quarterback, I think this should be a fairly easy Raven victory. Patriots-Dolphins. The next two AFC games are going to be really good games to watch out for. Patriots-Dolphins, first of all. I would favor the Dolphins here. I think they get that new look offense going really good. I think they make a bit of a statement with a win over a Bill Belichick defense. Notoriously one of the tougher defenses you'll find. And I think they'll do fairly well against it. Granted, against a Patriots team that tends not to do that well in Miami anyway. So yeah, I take the Dolphins here. Next up, Raiders and Chargers. It's a rematch of the Week 18 game last year. Of course, that was the Sunday Night Football game. Went to overtime and was just seconds away from ending in a tie. Had it ended in a tie, the Chargers would have made the playoffs. Of course, that did not happen. And both these teams have made some pretty substantial upgrades to their teams. But in the end, here, I think this is another close game. I feel like I should also say this is going to be at SoFi Stadium and not Allegiant Stadium. So it's going to be in Los Angeles and not Las Vegas. So here, I'm going to take the Chargers. I think Justin Herbert throws a last-minute touchdown to, let's say, Keenan Allen to get the win over the Raiders. On to the interconference matchups, and we're going to keep the primetime games, save them for later. So we'll start here with Jaguars and Commanders. Carson Wentz taking on the team that kept the Colts out of the playoffs, the Jacksonville Jaguars. And it really was Wentz's performance in that game that kept the Colts out of the playoffs. Here, I think Wentz has a bit of a rebound, and he leads the Commanders to a win over a team that, yeah, he probably should have beaten last year in the Jacksonville Jaguars. Next game's really interesting. Browns and Panthers. Baker Mayfield set to make the start for Carolina, so he'll be taking on the team that traded him for Deshaun Watson. And look, this may be just what I want to have happen, but I'm taking the Panthers And it mainly has to do with the quarterbacks. Assuming Baker's healthy, I would definitely take him over Jacoby Brissett. I see this as a game tied late in the ball game, but Baker's able to make that one play more than Jacoby's able to, so I take the Panthers here. Next up is my Kansas City Chiefs. It's the first game after Tyreek Hill as they take on the Arizona Cardinals in Phoenix. These are two teams that both start the season off pretty hot. I mean, the Cardinals have been fairly notorious as of late for doing that. In fact, Cliff Kingsbury teams in general have been notorious with that. Kansas City, meanwhile, they have not lost in week 1 since 2014. They have not. Yeah, that is the only time since Andy Reid came to Kansas City that he's lost week 1. And ironically also, or maybe more, or is more coincidentally, it's also the only year of the Andy Reid era that the Chiefs have failed to make the playoffs. Here I think the Chiefs come out on fire like they usually do, and they beat the Cardinals. Of course, it helps that the Cardinals will not have DeAndre Hopkins due to his suspension. But yeah, I'm taking the Chiefs over the Cardinals in Arizona. Giants and Titans. I know I've said my piece about how I think the Titans are going to decline this year, especially on offense. But I think this is a game where they will clearly have the superior offense, and that will lead to a bit of a blowout over the New York Giants. Looking at the NFC matchups, 49ers taking on the Bears in Chicago, and really that and each of the next two, Eagles at Lions and Saints at Falcons, I see them really all similarly. Potential playoff team versus one of the worst teams in the league. With the potential playoff team hitting the road. And in each case, I like the potential playoff team. I don't think there's much more need for elaboration. Packers and Vikings. This is going to be something I expect the Vikings to really challenge the Packers for the NFC North. I don't expect them to win the division, but I expect them to at least put a challenge against the Packers. And here, I like this as my upset of the week. Last I was checking, this was a Packers 1.5 point spread. And I like the Vikings to go out and make a statement against the division favorites, the Green Bay Packers, especially in Minneapolis. I like the Vikings in that particular matchup. Sunday Night Football, Buccaneers and Cowboys. This set to take place in Dallas. And here I like the Buccaneers. I just like their defense a bit better than I like the Cowboys' defense. I think that allows Tampa Bay to win the game. Monday Night Football is interesting with Broncos and Seahawks. It's the return of Russell Wilson, and I think the Broncos roll in Seattle. And Russell Wilson will get a win over his former team. And finally, Thursday night's action. If you saw my predictions for how the postseason will look, you'll know that Bills-Rams was my predicted Super Bowl. And I think this game winds up the same result. I think the Bills beat the Rams in LA opening night. I think Josh Allen will have a bit of a scorched earth policy, especially early on in the season. And that will, of course, allow Buffalo to put up tons of points on the teams they play. The unfortunate first team to see them is the Rams. But there you go. There are my predictions for the NFL's week number 1. If you like this, please like and subscribe for more to come in the following weeks. I've been the Sports Wiz 101, and I will see you all later.